Point slope form is another form that we use in order to graph linear equations. Remember, we have standard form, slope-intercept form, and point slope form. The third form of an equation of a line is point slope form. The point slope form of a line is the following equation: y minus y1. That's called a subscript, so the number should be smaller and in the bottom right-hand side of your letter, equals m times x minus x1, where m is the slope and x1 and y1 are the coordinate for a point of the line. So remember, any coordinate is x comma y. We are going to put x1, the number right here, and y1, the number right there. Now, because of the equation having subtraction here and there, that does have an impact on how we identify those values. You're going to see that in this first example here. It says identify the slope and a point on the line from the equation, then graph the line. So when I take a look at, again, remember, y minus y1. So for this one, it's y minus, you're subtracting a positive 3. Y minus 3, so y1 is 3, equals m, so our m is a negative 2/5, x minus x1. So for x1, you have to ask yourself, what do you have to subtract in order to get a positive 4? Well, you would have to subtract a negative, because two negatives make a positive. That gives you the expression x plus 1. The easier way to remember this is just because if there's subtraction, you change the signs. So you can just make a note, sign change maybe. It looks like a negative when really it's a positive. It looks like a positive, really it's negative. A common mistake that people make is when they identify their point, they like to go in order, so they'll probably say 3, negative 4. Keep in mind, it's x1 comma y1. Order absolutely matters. So negative 4 should come first, positive 3 should come second. When you're graphing these, step 1 is to plot your point. So I'm going to go from the origin, left 4, and then up 3. This is your starting point. From your starting point, you're going to use your slope. So we have a negative slope here. That negative slope can move down to right 5. So down to right 5 as many times as you can. We want a nice, accurate graph. So that's all that fits. You could have also associated the negative with the 5 instead. So that would be a positive 2, negative 5, which would be up to left 5. And then you connect your points drawing your line. So when you're graphing, step 1 is to plot your point. Step 2 is to use your slope. And then that's it. Connect your points. The on your own, you will end up being responsible for. So I'm going to move on to the next example. Identify the slope and a point on the line from the graph and write the equation in point slope form. So given this line right here, we're going to write the equation. For a point, you could use any of the points you see. I'm going to take a look and find solutions that are easy for me to read. So that would be negative 4, 1. 0, 2 looks pretty easy to read. And then this point right here, 4, 3. So I could use any of these points to put right here. I'm just going to pick a random one. So I'm just going to say 4, 3, because why not? If I'm trying to write the equation in in point slope form, I'm going to let this be x1 and y1 for my point. And now I need my slope. So picking any of the points, I'm just going to find the slope real quick. Rise over run, up 1, so that's a positive 1. and it appears that I move right, which is a positive movement, 4 units. So rise over run, that's 1/4. We're ready to write the equation. Y minus y1, which is 3, equals m, 1/4, times x minus x1, which is 4. And that's it for that one. Once again, I am going to skip the on your own. You will be responsible for that. Let's move on to the next part. We can also use 2 coordinates of a line to write the equation in point-slope form. Let's break it down. We need 2 pieces of information. So it's called point-slope form because you need a point and a slope. So slope and a point, which is x1 comma y1 for us. To find slope, we're used to doing rise over run, but if you need to find slope from 2 points, we need to use what's called the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it is still rise over run because it's the difference in your y values, that's your rise, over the difference in your x values, that's your run. So if I just give you 2 points, no graph, no nothing, just 2 points, we can actually write the equation. So I'm going to start off finding the slope. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When you are looking at your 2 points, you need to let one of them be x1 comma y1, the other to be x2 comma y2. So I usually just let the first point be x1 y1 and the second point be x2 y2. Remember, any point is always x comma y. The subscripts help us tell the difference between the 2 points. So now, y2 is 7, minus y1, that's negative 3, over x2 is negative 4, minus x1, which was 2. I plugged it in, time to simplify. 2 negatives makes a positive. So really, this is saying 7 plus 3, which is 10, over negative 4 minus 2, which is negative 6. This is a slope that simplifies, so our simplified slope is negative 5/3. Now we're ready to write the equation. It is y minus y1. I'm going to let this be my y1, so negative 3. If I subtract a negative 3, that becomes a positive 3, or just remind yourself, hey, we have a sign change here, equals m, so negative 5/3, times x minus x1, so I'm subtracting 2. You can see that sign change happening because we know it's a positive 2, but it looks like subtraction at the moment. The on your own you are responsible for, so we are moving on. Writing the equation of a line when given the slope and a point, or 2 points. Step 1. If the slope is not given, find it by using the slope formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 that we just talked about. Step 2. Use point slope form. Start on this step if slope is given. So as a reminder, here is the form that we want to use. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Taking a look at example 4, it says write the equation of a line passing through. It gives us a point, it gives us a slope. Good news, it gives us the slope. You do not need to use this formula in order to solve for slope. We have it. I know m is 5. It gave me a point already. So I'm just going to label it as x1 comma y1. And I'm ready just to plug it in and we'll have the equation already. Y minus y1, which was 3, equals slope, which was 5, times x minus x1, which is 0. Just so you know, x minus 0 is just going to be x. If you really wanted to, you could rewrite it as this 5 times just x. So instead of x minus 0, you could have put just x. Once again, the on your own you will be responsible for, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next part. We are still trying to write the equation of the line in that point slope form, but now I did not give you the slope. I gave you 2 points. This is where you're going to have to label x1, y1, x2, y2, and use that slope formula in order to find the slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Plug it in. y2 was 6 minus y1, which is 3, over x2, which was 5, minus x1, which is 2. Then you go ahead and you simplify it. So I'm just going to bring it down here. 6 minus 3 is 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. And 3 over 3 does simplify to 1. So step 1's done. I found my slope. Now I could pick any of these points right here to plug into my equation. I just like using the first point because it's already labeled x1, y1. So it's y minus y1, which is 3, equals slope, which is 1, times x minus x1, which is 2. Now technically, if you have a slope of 1 times something is just itself. Really, you could have written it this way if you really wanted to. If you don't write the 1, it's understood to be 1. But it's not necessary. I'm going to leave it up to you. That's kind of your choice. I'm going to let this be the on your own problem. So that one I'll let you be responsible for. But we got one more. Real quick, write the equation of the line passing through 2 points once again. So x1, y1, x2, y2. I just want to emphasize that what you're going to do is find the slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this time we're subtracting a negative. Don't forget, 2 negatives makes a positive. So what we really have here is negative 6 minus 4, which is negative 10, over negative 2 plus 3, which is 1, which gives me a negative 10 slope. Picking either of these 2 points, so I'm just going to pick this one for my point. So I have point slope, y minus y1, which is 4, equals slope, negative 10 times x minus x1. If I subtract negative 3, that becomes a positive 3. This is going to be the last on your own, which you'll be responsible for. So for your homework, you're going to go back and you're going to attempt all of the on your own problems for tonight. There will be no worksheet, just the on your own problems.